Friday, but I'm gonna make this one for Sunday, I think, or Saturday, whatever. I just made a video, and one of the things I noticed was when I brought up the fact that God made everything in 6 days, and then you're thinking about the progression, you know, from Old Testament to New Testament, right? And there's this, you know, a very strict law that God lays down, right? Like, God's there, He makes the earth, then there's people kind of go sideways or whatever. Some of them just kind of do right, you know what I mean, type of deal. And then, you know, Abram and all this stuff, and then he becomes the chosen people, and then, you know, they wind up in Egypt, let my people go. At some point, Moses, like, goes up on a hill and literally gets 10 commandments. Okay, that's the law written down with God's finger. Okay, but they kind of already knew some stuff before that. It just wasn't really written in stone. Okay, and then time plays out, this, that, and the other. Jesus, He comes to fulfill the law and fulfill, you know, His portion of history, and to fill certain gaps and stuff like that, and ushers in a new covenant. Okay, and then, you know, He lives His life and all that kind of stuff. The church gets started. Then Paul writes some stuff down, and now everybody's discussing what they're supposed to do. Okay, so really, the consistency is be obedient to what God tells you to do throughout the entire book. We have an overwhelming theme of obedience, and it is written. He desires obedience, not sacrifice. Okay, and then, like, there's a common phrase in business I've heard for most of my life, and it's there's a principle of business. It's easier to lighten up than it is to tighten up. So God, of course, the author of wisdom, you know what I mean, the creator of all, would know that, right? The chances that God did not know that is zero. Like, God knows that. So when you're looking at the law and everything, and then you're looking at grace and everything, and the progression of historic fact, and the overwhelming reality that, you know, intelligent design, like, there is solid observational science that points directly to a creator. Like, everything we observe, I can't think of a single thing that, if you trace it back far enough, did not come from a creator. And we are made in His image, and, you know, we're therefore creative, and we create stuff. You know, I mean, even this right here, this video is a content creation. Okay, and this is to help you with a mindset of faithfulness, which is like this impenetrable shield. One of the best fighting strategies I ever heard of, this guy said, I just want to be fast. I don't care how tough I am. But you can't hurt what you can't hit. I said, man, that's an excellent, excellent strategy, if you can pull it off. The attempt of said strategy without the execution is terrible. You know, they say the best offense is a good defense, or the best defense is a good offense. But you can't hurt what you can't hit. So that's pretty cool. So the shield of faith, with which we put out the fiery darts of the evil one, you know what I mean? I got so much faith in God that you can't, you know, you can't break me down and get me in some emotional tizzy over who a politician is, or accused of, or, you know, all this other kind of stuff. And then when, like, the earth itself attacks my family with a tornado or a hurricane, or, you know, some, you know, massive mudslide, flood, avalanche, solar flare, whatever. I'm attacked by my environment. I've got to be ready for that. I think that's one of the reasons why people in Oklahoma are typically more intelligent than the average person, because Oklahoma attacks the people more regularly. So it's kind of a bubble of hardship, and with hardship comes wisdom and strength. You know, it's a strength training. Okay, so as we observe these things, we can see that God is in fact real, and we can put our faith in the Bible, because you know all of Western society is based on that, and America's the most prosperous nation there ever was in recorded history. So something's working out, and how can I get a piece of the pie? And I'm thinking favor. Okay, so favor's found in obedience, and he wants obedience over sacrifice. So if I'm walking obediently, even when I get my special whatever, I don't have to give it up in service to get right. Because, you know, it's like the Marines will say something about don't get ready, stay ready. Like, be ready all the time. You know, everyday carry, for example. You know, everyday obedience. So I don't have to sacrifice my goat. I like my goat. He's making a lot of other goats, and, you know, he's also food for my family. So if I'm eating my lawnmower and staying healthy, I don't need to go to the doctor and yada, yada, yada. But we fall short. Okay, so God made everything. He knew the end from the beginning. So he appropriately went about the procedure. And he knew what we were going to need, so he put what we would need in the earth. That's how you know you're not going to run out of stuff, because he put enough here. So that's cool. Extremely cool. Got to write my mileage down. Just entered Louisiana. It's a nice Friday afternoon. Well, it's a nice Friday about noon, I should say. Anyways, so it's easier to lighten up than it is to tighten up. So we see how strict God was in the beginning, and now we see how he's kind of lightened up with Jesus and brought about this goodness. But if you actually study, the goodness was always there. He was always quick to forgive. He was always such a loving, forgiving God. You know what I mean? Always. You know what I mean? And the only time where he put somebody down, it was like when you'd see a farmer put down a rabid dog. Like there was something so bad about your children getting rabies from a dog bite that the family pet with rabies got shot. And that is very harsh. That's understandable. Well, if you'll go back to all them laws where it's like if they do this thing, kill them. And you trace that, and you follow, put on it, imagine God's perspective for all eternity, all the days of the earth, all of every human that will ever live. Are they better off? Is the entire group of humanity and all these billions of people going to be, you know, better off if this old boy's dead? You know what I mean? And every law, if you look at it to the heart, it's like, oh yeah, that's way better. But, you know, there's no way for a righteous, good, loving goodness to thrive in perversion. You know, it's just, I mean, we can see it in our own society. You take a society that had certain biblical standards with just perversion and the beggar. And then you look at when that's allowed and how it just blows up into this craziness. And then like all the people are affected by it and distracted from righteousness and tempted into, you know, things that result in them dying. So back at the beginning of this deal, it's like if you do that, if you see somebody doing that thing, kill them. you know. And of course, there's tribunals and all that. Even today, we see there's certain things in the state of Texas, they will give you the death penalty. And so the law's the law, right? And that seems harsh and everything, and it carries on to this day. But then we see like this lightening up, apparently, with this Jesus deal, and that's what a lot of the people are saying. You know what I mean? With this, he died for me type of thing or whatever, and that's where they get hung up. It's like they don't understand the Old Testament law because they never read the beginning of the book. They skipped over the law, thinking it didn't apply, instead of reading it, seeing that, we're not sacrificing because Jesus sacrificed himself. And to be able to sacrifice himself, he had to be the high priest. And he was a high priest in the line of Melchizedek, who was eternal, which means that he was qualified to give himself. He was an eternal self. He was a human being. And he did sacrifice himself and legally give himself, therefore redeeming my criminal self to become a saint and be able to, not only avoid the fire, but here in the earth enact the things of God in an appropriate way for me to fulfill my part of history. And I want to live that to the full. I want to strive to do that. And, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out, if somebody's drowning, stick a stick in the water and pull them out, whatever. You know what I mean? If somebody's got a flat tire, help them. You know what I mean? If the neighbor's hungry, feed them. These are real basic things. However, a greedy, selfish person in a time of lack, like let's say directly after a hurricane, you know what I mean? This guy hasn't had food for a day and a half, and he's ready to topple the neighborhood apartment complex, just door to door, killing for food and water. You know what I mean? Because he ain't got no God in him. He don't have no concern for his fellow man or anything else like that. So he's just going to do what it takes to survive. Because he doesn't realize he can just not eat for like 10 days. And the power will come back on. He can just go back to work or whatever. You know what I mean? So, and he didn't have enough wisdom to store up 10 days of water and food or whatever. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of ways that you can live for 10 days. I mean, give me a break. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, seriously. You know what I mean? But time and time again, we see mankind taking advantage of people and through various lust and greed and, and just tricking everybody. You know what I mean? And it's horrible, but that's free will, Without free will, then there wouldn't be actual love. And love is the strongest thing ever. And it is enduring and everlasting, which is incredible. Which gets us over into this part, like, I guess it's the big, week of Ephesians here at Skim D-Graph channel. But, it's our inheritance, you know what I mean? Like, I did this deal talking about airstrike. That's H-E-I-R. That's where you pray. This week, a family member was on their deathbed and other people prayed, and they're at home right now. That literally happened this week. It is the week of November 15th. It's Friday the 15th. And it's at his house. He is not at the hospital dying. And they thought he was going to die. So, pray about it. And thank God for modern medicine also. Anyways, use all your tools. Use all your tools. You know what I mean? Use all your tools. Just because I can, I can use my pocket knife as a flat blade or a Phillips screwdriver, or I can get a Phillips screwdriver, or I could use like a cordless drill with a tip in it, a number 2, number 3, number 1, whatever. Phillips, you know. They all get the screw out. Some are more effective than others. If I'm proficient with every one, then I have gained knowledge that I can, you know, extract screws or put screws into stuff. I had a drill one time. I roofed probably 30 houses with that drill. With metal roof. Actually, I know it's way more than 30. But 30 for sure. It was just me and that drill that put every screw in that roof. You know what I mean? That's way easier than trying to use a pocket knife. But I had a pocket knife in my pocket one time, and I was going to do a leak repair, and I looked down and I seen a loose screw, and obviously it was letting water in there or whatever like that underneath it. So I took the screw out, put another rubber washer on it, and then I put the screw back in. And I did that with my knife because I didn't want to walk back to the truck to get a drill. I had to climb a ladder and all that stuff. So use all your tools where appropriately and in the proper manner and creativity. You know what I mean? And if you go doctor and you're sick, great. If you go to the church and have the elders lay hands on you and pray, great. I would go to the church first, just off of basic economics. You know what I mean? Like if you go to the church and get healed, and then you're like super grateful and just like, you know, give them a whole check. That's still way less than the urgent care. You know, if I said, give the church your entire check this week, you're like, what? And then if I say, pay for an ambulance. You know what I mean? Have you ever seen the bill for ambulance? Dude, it's like $8,000 if you're lucky. And you say, oh, well, I got insurance. Okay, yeah, well, I have a house. And it costs less than your insurance. I do not have insurance. But I pray. I know how to call it an airstrike. Whatever. Use your tools. Do what you got to do. So when I was running a crew, I noticed that, you know, we was all beer drinking and all kinds of stuff, you know what I mean? But we did quality work. And then years later, I was at a different place, and I had a lot of blowback, and I was like, what's going on, or whatever like that. And then what it was is, when I was coming up in Oklahoma, you know, we were just, I mean, we were rowdy. We'd fight. And everybody do it. So and then everybody was a convict. So, like, we just knew about respect and stuff. Well, when I run into a crew down in Florida later, you know, these people didn't understand respect or anything else like that. So, the crew from Oklahoma, I'd be like, you know, it's all good, you know, don't worry about it, you know, because they'd be just getting out of prison. You know? And they get on a bus, come down to Florida and work or whatever, you know, and then, you know, when that whole situation played out, I started doing other stuff in Florida. Well, the guys that come from Oklahoma, I'd be like, you know, it's all good. Because they were coming from hardship. And then in Florida, I'd take somebody to work, and I mean, it's like, you might as well just do it yourself. They were so lazy. You couldn't get them to put, they didn't take 3 days to get 1 day of work out of them. And then boys from Oklahoma, you'd be telling them to slow down. And, yeah, because, you know, and that's the other thing, just a small caveat. Don't do your work so fast that the person paying you thinks you're ripping them off. You know what I mean? Don't do it that fast. Like sometimes, you know that you can go in there and fix that leak in 20 minutes. But go ahead and leave, have lunch, and come back and finish up. You know what I mean? That way they feel better. You know, $350 in a 20-minute deal. You know, you spend more effort taking the ladder off the truck than you do fixing the leak. But it's $350 minimum. But you took that time out of your day, and you got to pay your guys and the insurance and fuel and taxes and everything else. $350 for a guaranteed leak repair is actually a pretty good deal, really. On some stuff, it's a simple fix. And other stuff, it's pretty major. Anyway, if you just go up there and pop some nails out, take a shingle out, stick a shingle in, put the nails back in the exact same place, and say, okay, give me $350. They're like, you've only been here for 20 minutes. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's easier to just go ahead and leave, start another job, leave that job, come back to this one, finish it up, leave that one, go back to the one you started, finish that one up, and, you know, everybody's happy, you got $700, you know. Does that take an extra hour? Yeah. But the reviews, did they tell their neighbor you're a good dude, or did they tell the neighbor that you ripped them off because you're so fast? You know what I mean? Like you're working yourself out of work because of optics. You know what I mean? So just lighten up a little bit. You know what I mean? In that case, them dudes, man, you could not tighten up. You start off wild and loose with a crew, they're going to be wild and loose the whole time. You start off strict. I had one guy, I finally broke him. He was a good guy. We were doing a commercial roof, and we had the metal on the sides, and he was excellent with a brake. Well, I told him, I said, I'll be here at 7:05. I'm going to honk my horn twice, and at 7:10, I'm leaving. Because he would always just drag his feet. I'd end up waiting on this dude. Now, everybody else that I'm picking up is waiting, right? And I go around and pick everybody up. That's one of the ways to get your guys is give them a ride. Go pick up your crew. It helps them with commuting and stuff. We all stop and eat together. That means we're all going to get hungry about the same time for lunch, which is excellent. And then that means we got that time to fellowship and talk amongst ourselves about whatever new situation, or, you know, build camaraderie and stuff like that. So that was very good. And then, like, a lot of roofers are drunk. They don't have no license. So if you just pick them up, you'll get the best guys. So I'll pull up there, and the clock hits, you know, 7:10 or whatever it was. I've been there for 5 minutes, and I see this guy coming out the door, and I just drove off and left him. You know, I got to work or whatever, and that old boy that was paying us, Tommy, he's like, "Where's dude, man? We need him, this, that, and the other." I said, "Well," I said, "Do you want me to tell you the truth of it, or do you want to hear a story?" He was like, "Just tell me, man." I said, I told him what went on or whatever. He was like, "Man, that's chicken shit." I said, "Well, we'll see how it goes." And every day after that, I blew over and honked the horn. You know, he'd walk right out and get in the truck every time. And dude, that job site, that was in Doral, Florida, putting metal roofs on apartment complexes, and it was about $7.8 million project, just the roofs, and yeah, not the gutter, not building the building, and there was, I don't know, 41 units, and these were not houses. These were 2- and 3-story apartment complex with, we were putting on galvanized aluminum. They called it Galvaloo. And, yeah, anyway. And I did not finish the project. I was a part of it, and I ran a crew that was a part of it. But I did the cash portion because back then I was a cash man, whatever. Anyway, Florida's very interesting about that. Who owns the land and like how you pay for stuff. There's numerous loopholes in Florida. It's very interesting. You know what I mean? Like you can be the man. I think it was Walt Disney was buying up land to build Disney World, so they passed a law, something about you don't have to declare who you are, because they're like, if they find out he's buying up all this land around Orlando, everybody's going to raise the price, and it ain't going to work out, type of deal. So they passed this law, and it's grandfathered all this time. So now, they have certain loopholes that are very surprising, and if you find them, they are highly lucrative. Anyway, so it's easier to lighten up than it is to tighten up. You know what I mean? And if you start off game tight with the right business plan and all that, they got this other phrase of due diligence, right? So looking back at the Bible, how much planning went into the earth and creation before it was created? How much do you think God thought about it? You know what I mean? Like, we know he knew to completion, but if you count the steps back from eternity all the way back to in the beginning, God created, there's some before that. What happened before in the beginning? It's an incredible concept, and that would be God's business plan. I think God had a business plan before that, and he knew how everything was. I think we have predestiny, and I think we have free will at the same time. God knew that I'd be making this video. He also knew, how to guide, direct my steps. There has been times where he has literally refrained me. Like, I felt like my chest was against a wall and I could not move forward. And looking back, that would have thwarted my ability to even be here right now. And it's amazing. So how's a fellow going to get favor like that and be a sinner? Well, obviously, my dad would scold me, and if I got right after a scolding, fine. I'd have to do whatever amount of restitution. But then if he had to actually whoop me, well, he'd whoop me. And there would be all this different stuff to get right. So in your own life, you'll see how God has let certain suffering happen, and it's all for a reason, and you're not going to know the reasons until after the fact. Maybe all the way into judgment, on Judgment Day or whatever. Maybe later in heaven or whatever. I don't know. To whatever degree, I don't know. To the full in my own life. However, I know some, and he lets me know just enough for today. There's a part in the Bible, several parts in there, where it's like, sufficient is the trouble of today. So I want to have a plan, you know what I mean? The trouble of the day could be I need to make a plan. You know what I mean? Am I planning? Am I strategically deciding how I'm going to spend my money? That's called a budget. And then my life, they say you're born looking like your parents, and you die looking like your choices. So, your location in the earth, your stature in the society, that's all you look like your parents when you're born. If they're rich, you're rich. If they're in Africa, you're in Africa. That's where you're born. You know what I mean? If you're poor, if your parents are poor and live in, Texas, you're born in Texas, you look like a poor Texan. You know what I mean? But when you die, you look like your choices. You got your whole life to make choices, and the consequences of them choices are results are, on you. So, if you think about it, which most people don't, that's another reason why we know we're under grace. When you look around and you see what people are going through, what they're dealing with, what they're captured by, what they're captive to, and then you realize these other people that are tricking them into stuff are, you know, evil. But they're not that smart either. They're just following a plan. I mean, I hate to say this, but look at a pimp. How in the world? What is your life like that you would turn to, you know, that line of work as, you know, the individual that's, you know, going through it, or the person that's like calling the shots? It's just, it don't make no sense. I don't even know how anybody finds it attractive. I won't even I won't even use somebody else's handkerchief. So, like, I don't even understand how there's a market for it. But anyway, a lot of deception there. And then, but you look at the principles of running a grocery store. You look at the principles of, you know, manufacturing gasoline. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, running a drilling rig, roofing a house, HVAC, you know, all these different things. There's only two industries though. Farming and mining. And that's where you're extracting things out of the earth. Everything else is just a job. You know what I mean? And most jobs are trying to fix somebody else's problem. So if your job, if you find, you know, again, you want to appeal to somebody that's got enough money to pay you, you know, and then you want the problem to be, you know, necessary. You know, like, you know, this company over here needs this product coming from over there, so I'm a truck driver bringing them their product. And they're like, everybody needs stuff. And everybody needs to send stuff out and bring stuff in. And then there's service-based stuff where you're actually, you know, assembling the house on site. But there's a truck driver that brings out all the boards or whatever. You know what I mean? So we're going to end this deal right here. We're going to do a little bit of we're going to have a moment of silence for Jesus. Thank you, Lord, for all these things that you've done. Sure appreciate this great creation that you've given us. It is truly wonderful and awesome to see what you give us the ability to build and the opportunities that you give us. I just thank you, Lord, and I just pray that you bless anyone watching this with the Holy Ghost and the spirit of gratitude. Help us all be grateful that you gave us these things in the earth and the ability to make these things from the earth. Thank you, Father, for giving us a perspective from on high. It's truly amazing what you give us. Thank you, Lord. Rockhill, y'all have a great day, and read your Bible. It'll save your life. Go get them.